Okay, so we've got Brewdog's Nanny State non-alcohol, alcohol-free hoppy ale up next. Welcome back to Views on Brews. I'm Brendan, and this is Nanny State. I've had this beer when it was bottled, and they've got all this new color coding thing. But Nanny State is basically a beer that I first had. I had it in Edinburgh at my brother's stag do, and it was the first beer that I had, and I had no idea what Nanny State was at the time. I just heard of it. I thought it might be a light ale, but I had no idea it was 0.5%. So I joined a whole table of fully grown lads with my bottle of pink and yellow, I think it was, pink and yellow labeled bottle of Nanny State. So that was not a good start to my introduction to all his friends. But I quickly chugged that down and then moved on to other beers whilst they all ordered espresso martinis, so it wasn't all bad. But Brewdog, anyway, from Ellen, of course, in Scotland. They come under a lot of fire, and sometimes rightly so, and sometimes I think it's a bit of bandwagon that people jump on. I think you have to take every beer that Brewdog make with a pinch of salt and sort of say, I'm going to judge it based on my own opinions that I will form without anyone else's opinions thrown in on top of it. So this Nanny State beer, I'm going to pour it out now, get it in there. I've had one of these last night. Came in a pack of 4 for, like, in Ireland here for about €6.50, I think they are. So they're very cheap cans of non-alcohol or alcohol-free beer. Never going to get used to saying that properly. But have a look at the beer there. Okay, so you'll obviously notice this is an ale, and it is a very dark shaded color of ale. It's on the darker shade of amber that you're going to get. That is because, unless I am mistaken, it has rye in it. My God, I cannot for love nor money read this writing on the back of the can. Now, I'm pretty sure, because the writing on this can is so small, you absolutely cannot read it. It should be, you can't see this because I can't see this, so I'm not expecting you to be able to read any of that. But the writing is so small that you would literally need a magnifying glass to read any of it. I can't even read some of the writing that's slightly bigger. But I'm pretty sure that this is, from recollection, this is a beer that has rye in it. Now, I'll link up exactly what ingredients it has on it, whatever they tell. You can see all of their recipes online anyway, I think. So I'm pretty sure that there is a bit of a spicy kick to this beer, and I think it's the rye that probably gives it this colour. Now, I hope I don't have to go back on that, but that's my recollection of the beer anyway. But we're going to give it a go now, so cheers and sláinte. Yeah, it has that rye in it. I know it's rye. It must be rye, because rye does something. It has a really odd effect when there's a decent proportion of rye in a beer. It has this really odd sort of drying effect on your mouth, and it's warming, and it's almost kind of like, not capsaicin warming, but kind of like a warming, drying sensation on the back of the tongue and down the throat and all the way around the sides of the palate. And it's kind of got that edginess that's just slightly spicy and just verging on peppery, but not quite peppery. But it has that in this, and it has it in bucket loads. So I would imagine there's a decent proportion of rye in this beer. That's obviously going to be their answer to propping up the beer, in terms of it not missing or lacking any body. Do you know what? It tastes really good, I have to say. I mean, I know it's non-alcoholic, but if you told me you told me it was a 3 or 4% beer, you know, I would probably question it after a pint or so, but not really. So it passes that test of does it feel like a non-alcoholic free beer? I don't think it does. I think it tastes like a nice beer. It is missing a bit of that warmth and that depth of body, but not in any sort of substantial way that it's deter me or put me off purchasing it or drinking it. It's got a nice bit of head on it. It has a decent amount of carbonation running through it. Crystal clear clarity. Nice spiciness on the nose. And a really nice sort of melding of hops. I always get that in these dark amber beers. The beers that just sit between light beer and really dark beer. There's kind of like a melding that goes on in that amber range colour of beers that has a really interesting, enjoyable sort of caramel hoppy effect to it. I really like that. Yeah, piney. Piney is the way I would say it. Decent, huge amounts of bitterness. Yeah, really, really bitter, but the depth of the malt character can handle that bitterness. I tried the Punk AF, which isn't bad at all as well, and more enjoyable if you let it warm up a little bit out of the fridge, so it's not harshly cold and bitter. Let it warm up a little bit, have it with food, it's really nice. Keep it cold and straight out the fridge, it comes across quite harshly bitter, and it's on the lighter scale of the malt spectrum, whereas this one's on the darker side, and it really carries the hops along with it. I wouldn't be surprised to see that some of the same hops were in this. There's 8 different hops in Punk AF. I can't tell you what's in this because it's kind of amalgamated with the malt character, but I can say there's some sort of citrus, some sort of pininess going on, and really earthy and strong and bitter. Really enjoyable, but not in any way harsh or acrid. Lovely, lovely beer. It's the rye that makes this beer. I'm going to look such a fool if it doesn't have rye in it. I'm pretty sure. I'm 99.9% sure this has rye in it. You could not, nobody could read the writing on the back of this. You can't read the calorific content, you can't read the ingredients, anything. You simply cannot read that in any way, shape or form. And that shouldn't be allowed. It shouldn't be allowed to be like that. But that's the way it is. But the beer inside the can is absolutely fantastic. I give it a huge thumbs up. That's Brewdog Nanny State. I'm going to go away and enjoy that now. It's lovely. It's really nice. Good, rich toffee, sort of spicy caramel flavours going on in there. Lovely. Cheers, Slodger. That's my view on this brew. Bye.